call to kick off our hour, and what a big way to do it. Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez joins us via StreamYard. Lieutenant Governor, Happy New Year. Good afternoon.
Happy New Year. I am also in Madison today. I do travel all around the state, but it's super pretty today with the snow. We haven't had too much snow yet in
Right.
Wisconsin.
I know for those that drive, whatever, thankfully, but also I know our ag producers are really hoping because they really need the moisture, and also our tourism, particularly in
Yep,
northern Wisconsin. The Birkenbinders coming up. We were up there last year. They had to haul in and make snow. They could really use some natural snow up there for Wisconsin tourism.
absolutely. I know in Wisconsin we love to be outside. I certainly love to snowshoe and get outside as much as I can. And we do need some snow to be able to do that. So even though we do have to get out our shovels and our snow blowers at some point in time, it's still a whole lot of fun to get outside.
It really is. And of course, we've missed a lot of the worst of the weather, but just south of us, these big storms. And I wanted to
Right.
give you a chance just to talk about this for a moment. Governor Tony Evers declared an energy emergency in response to severe regional cold weather, noting in the executive order its impact on distribution of residential heating fuel. I think maybe some people hear, what the heck is the governor declaring an emergency when the worst of this is to our south? But this has an effect on how Wisconsinites get our energy and the cost thereof. Just tell folks a little bit why the governor did this, please.
So absolutely. So we know that we get fuel from all sorts of different areas within the country, and even if we're not having weather right here in Wisconsin, if it's close to us, it's going to be affecting some of our supply chains. And so what the governor did was declare this emergency because there are some federal and state rules about what time you can deliver types of fuel, how long you can be on the road to be able to do that. So it gives about 30 days for those fuel companies, for those folks who are going to be needing that type of energy fuel to heat their homes. It gives them a little bit of time to catch up when with this weather event that we're having.
And it's also a huge break for one of my very good friends was a long haul truck driver for a long time, and I spent
Mhm.
a week with him, and that was an education. And my understanding, this order also creates a 30-day waiver for state and federal restrictions on hours of service for
Yes,
carriers and drivers for transporting residential heating fuel. So it really helps out the distribution of that to Wisconsinites.
it does. All those hours of service, those are the types of regulations that I was talking about. So they can catch up, they can get the fuel where it needs to go so nobody is without fuel when we have snow here in Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a busy week here. You can always tell when the new legislative session starts because the parking around the Capitol Square gets tougher. The coffee shops get fuller. The 2025 legislative session is off and running. Lieutenant Governor, what are your thoughts on this new legislature and the new session?
So I'm really excited about the new legislature. We have new maps. Many of you know we got rid of the gerrymandered maps, which means that they were tilted towards the Republicans. So the governor and I won in our last election a little over 3 percentage points. Yet we had a supermajority of Republicans in the Senate and almost a supermajority in the Assembly. What these new maps do is really reflect the voting patterns of Wisconsinites. So we're a whole lot closer in the Assembly and the Senate now. And what I'm really excited about for that is that it gives us an opportunity to do better work across the aisle. And you and I have talked about this before, but when I go all across the state, this is what I'm hearing from people is they just want us to work together for the benefit of Wisconsinites. They're exhausted with the partisanship. They just want to make sure that government works all across Wisconsin. And with these new maps, making sure they're a little bit more evenly divided, I think is going to go a long way towards what Wisconsinites want.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've taken this show all over Wisconsin the last year. You and I have a little bit of a connection tangentially that I grew up in Richland Center, and you have maternal grandparents that were dairy farmers in Richland County. So I mean, you get that part of the
Yeah.
state, and I love living here in Madison now. Milwaukee is a great city, but I think your perspective, both from an urban place, but you also get and understand rural Wisconsin, and that excites me.
Yeah, so my grandparents had a dairy farm between Bosstown and Sugar Grove. So
Hmm.
I'm sure you know where that is, but
I
many of your
do.
listeners might not know where that is because it is a very, very small town. And
Yes.
so, absolutely, I was just up there not that long ago. We still have family up there. So just went up there actually for a funeral to West Salem, Wisconsin, which is
Oh,
a little bit
my condolences.
thank you. But it was my godmother and my godfather. We went up there for that to be able to visit with them, and they had a farm right outside of West Salem. And so I do have a lot of connections to some of those more rural roots, and this is why I love Wisconsin so much, is because you can find that not very far out of the city. You can get out pretty
Yeah.
quickly out of the city to find
Well,
things to do, but also smaller cities.
it's one of the things that I people in this program know. I voted for you and Governor Evers. One of the
Mhm.
things I really admire about you is your attitude. That hey, it's a positive attitude. We're going to find ways to work together. I know that a lot of legacy media, the sexy click things are to click on the things where we're divided. Are there areas that excite you moving into this legislative 2025 session where you feel that there are opportunities to work with Speaker Voss, with Leader LeMahieu and the Republicans, and a close, still Republican leading, but a
Yes.
closer legislature?
Well, I mean, that's how we're going to have to get things through, right? So we've got a Democratic governor and we've got a Republican Senate and a Republican Assembly. And so for us to be able to get things passed, for us to be able to do the things we need to do for Wisconsinites, we're going to have to work together. One of the areas that I also hear about all across Wisconsin is housing. And I
Yes.
know we got some really good legislation in the last legislative session to be able to address some of our housing needs. That is we need to continue to do more of that, because when I'm talking to people, when rents go up, when they're unable to afford their first home, this is such a pinch for families today, and we need to be able to address that with concrete policies to be able to make sure that people can have a roof over their heads, that they are able to put food on the table, and they're able to take care of their families. And these are the kind of things that are priorities for me, priorities for the governor. And I know our Republican colleagues are hearing it in their own districts as well.
One of the, I, one of the smartest things I've heard anybody at any level, any party say so far, because that's a real issue.
Mhm.
Trigby Olson and I, who travel around the state, we hear you're right. It doesn't matter whether it's an Amory or Wausau or Green Bay
Mhm.
or Milwaukee. Housing is something that that's a real thing that people are struggling with. That I agree, there are opportunities to come together. Uh, one place that might not be so coming together. Wisconsinites, I think, are sick and tired of elections. $50 million in the last state Supreme Court race where Janet Protasewicz won. Hang on to our seatbelts. It could top 100 million. There's another one coming up, but elections have consequences. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, this one's important.
It's very, very important. We've got a Supreme Court race coming up in April, and this will determine the makeup of the court, just like the last election determined the makeup of the court. So, if Wisconsinites are interested in making sure that they want to keep these fair maps that we have now in Wisconsin, if they want to make sure that we are allowing women to make decisions about their bodies, which is the abortion law would be on the ballot again, um, they have to make sure that they're voting, and who I'm voting for is Susan Crawford, because she's going to make sure that we have fair maps. She's going to make sure that we are applying the law appropriately in terms of the abortion law, and that's what I'm looking forward to coming up for this April, is to make sure that people understand the consequences of this election as well.
And we talked about this on this show earlier. I know you have an affinity for and respect for law enforcement in this state, around the
We do.
country as well. But here's a guy, as a former Republican myself, who left the party in 2011. Here's a guy, Schimmel, on the Republican side, conservative side, who comes out earlier or last week defending January 6th defendants who are insurrectionists. That doesn't add up to back the blue to me. I have people in my family who are great law enforcement people, and it's a bit ironic that Schimmel's out there saying, well, let's let the people that attacked our law enforcement on the streets.
I do too. I have law enforcement in my family, and that is something it's appalling to me that he would defend that type of behavior. We saw all those videos. We saw what happened on January 6th, and how many police officers were injured that day and died after that particular event. We can't forget that that happened. This was a violent act, and to be able to defend that type of behavior and those illegal acts, I think is disqualifying.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And of course, I have a personal interest in him going to court and trying to suppress votes back in
Yeah.
2015, 2016. That's just something else that I think is, in my opinion, disqualifying.
Hmm.
Maybe that's him as a rebut right now on the phone. No,
Ah!
it was it was
He's calling. He's
not. Right.
calling.
Apologize for that. Lieutenant Governor, big game coming up to turn the page for a second.
Yes.
I know you're a cheerleader for Wisconsin. The Packers traveling to Philadelphia. Any thoughts on the big game on Sunday?
I would never bet against the Packers. I mean,
Right.
I am going to say they're going to win. Maybe we should put $1 on it. I don't know.
All right.
That's the only amount that I bet. I'm going to guess they win by 3.
Well, see, we're right on the same page. I said in the last segment with Brady Ewing, because this new kicker we have actually can kick. It's like I'm old enough to remember Chris Jackie. I mean, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, no, we have a great kicker. We've got a good quarterback, and we've got
Mhm.
really good young talent on our team. And
Yeah.
so, they've been doing well. I was very disappointed in the last game,
Yeah,
but
the Bears. The Bears.
oh, the Bears, I know. Um, but I have full faith that they are going to pull it out and they're going to win this next game. And they have such a bright future ahead of them for the next couple of seasons as they kind of get some seasoning, they get some more experience. And I love to watch them. We watch them all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, we appreciate you making time for us. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez. Thanks for doing a great job for our state. Welcome back to this program anytime, and have a great rest of the month of January.
All right. Thank you. You too.